my experience with sexual abuse has been really bad. I actually went through several incidents. I had that mental breakdown of mine. I said I was very suicidal and I was about to kill myself. ਮੈਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੈਕਸ਼ੂਅਲ ਅਬਿਊਜ਼ ਆ ਕੋਈ ਸਟ੍ਰੇਂਜਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਟਰਸਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹੀ ਬਿਟਰੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ
Like why is our culture so toxic?
I would say lack of understanding. Kids reach out to us and say oh ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ mom dad ਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ questions ਪੁੱਛੇ and I got very upset. So then what is the child supposed to do?
Parents especially needs to be friends with their kids.
ਕੋਈ ਜਣਾ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ questions ਨਾ ਪੁੱਛੋ ਵੀ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਥੱਪੜ ਕਾਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਾਰਿਆ ਸੁਣੋ
Does it take a mental toll on your health? ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਮਾਈਲਸਟੋਨ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ-ਬਹੁਤ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ How are you?
Thank you first of all for having me and I am great.
How's life? How's everything going on?
I always say life is fabulous, but it's going good. It's the core movement because it was December and the holidays. Udon fe jade cases on lag jande a, especially during the holidays for sexual and domestic abuse. So both busy saga. November, December, January even. Both jada busy. Holiday wale time de vich jade cases on there.
This is a new thing to me, like holiday times te cases ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ
family gatherings ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ and you know ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ and ਫਿਰ ਉਹ triggering ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਕਈਆਂ ਲਈ so ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ contact ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ family functions ਬਥੇਰੇ ਆ like Christmas ਆ ਗਈ ਜਾਂ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ function ਲੋਹੜੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ cousins ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ because he or she sexually assault ਕੀਤਾ ਆ or domestic abuse or anything right in that matter so ਕਈਆਂ ਲਈ ਬਹੁਤ triggering ਆ especially for victims that have gone through sexual abuse.
Yeah core moment ਦੀ I know ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਰੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ core moment ਦੀ story core moment ਬਾਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਤੇ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ
Well, I started it in 2019, so it's ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਆ but I don't know if your audience maybe doesn't know but I started it for my own healing. So ਮੈਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਪੇਜ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਆ ਮੈਂ organization ਕਰਨੀ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ healing ਲਈ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ connect ਕਰਾਂ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ like you know ਜੋ ਮੈਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਇਆ ਆ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਆ right ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ connection ਬਣਾਵਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਲਵਾਂ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਾਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਸੋਚਦੀ ਕਾਤੇ ਆ ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਆ ਇਟ ਵਾਸ ਮੋਰ ਮੇਰਾ ਓਨ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਬ੍ਰੇਕਡਾਊਨ ਸੀਗਾ 2019 ਚ ਐਂਡ ਉਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ I was very suicidal. I'm very shocked that I'm even alive and to be honest and yeah so it was the core movement saved my life so now the thing is I want the core movement to save other people so that's why it's more of a passion for me it's more of a and core movement that nahi nahi saga ਇਹਦਾ ਨਾ hash hash ਰੱਖਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ anonymously and core movement ਉਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਚ ਆ ਗਿਆ after my own personal experience and ਕਹਿ ਦੋ God was next to me ਮੈਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਰੀ quotes share ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਬਾਕੀ podcast ਦੇ ਵੀ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਵੀ this is what is needed and ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ strength ਮਿਲੀ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ when I say things like when I kneel down in front of God, God stood up for me. When God stood up for me, I realized nobody can stand against me. So ਇਹੀ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ every morning, every day, I think 20 times a day I say it so I can help people that come to me. And I said that to myself when I was not okay. So then I think like passion ਵੀ ਆ ਇਹ right ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਆ ਵੀ ਕੀ feeling ਆ alone ਹੋਣ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਜਣਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂਗਾ support ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਬੰਦੇ like family ਸਾਰੀ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਵੇ like you know they're showing the love they're showing the support ਪਰ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਕੱਲੇ feel ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ feeling ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੋਰ ਕੋਈ ਜਣਾ feel ਕਰੇ so ਤਾਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ right and yeah charity ਬਣ ਗਈ organization ਆ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ worldwide BC ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ registered ਆ as a society but again, ਇਹ ਮੇਰਾ passion ਆ, and I have a full-time job on the other side. And when ਮੈਂ ਵੀ volunteer at core movement ਦੀ, right? So I'm a volunteer, ਇਹ ਸੇਵਾ ਆ, I don't make anything out of it. And ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਪੂਰੀ team ਆ, which is all over the world, volunteers like psychologists, counselors, everyone, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੇ volunteers ਆ. Just like me, I'm the volunteer of the core and sing movement. They are too. And ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ time ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ community ਲਈ and for us to start healing.
Wow. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ 2019 ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਪੇਜ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ.
Yeah.
And if I'm not wrong, the incident that you went through, you were like 5 years old at that time.
Yes, but I actually went through several incidents. So like that was just one. My experience with sexual abuse has been really bad. So that was when I was 5 years old. Then I had a sexual abuse happen with me, molestation by a family friend. When I was like 13, when I went to India, I was at a gurdwara and a baba. And I'm sorry, I know it's like for me, it's very easy to talk about now, but for others to hear it, sometimes it is kind of triggering. But yeah, and then I went to a family function one time. I was sexually assaulted. So this has been throughout my life as a child under the age of 18. So this is not something I know like a lot of people don't go through. So for me, it was just something that was really normal that I went through. Anytime a situation like that happened to me, I was okay, like what am I gonna do? I froze. I was like, these are like what victims usually act like. For example, this is how I acted, where I was numb, frozen. I didn't know the person that was doing it. I thought I trusted, and then they broke my trust. So ਮੈਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ sexual abuse ਆ ਕੋਈ stranger ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ. 90% statistics ਵੀ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਆ 90% of sexual abuse cases are from a loved one. So ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ page ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਵੀ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ, right, the core movement, ਉਹਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ helping victims of sexual and domestic abuse within families. So because mainly strangers ਤਾਂ 10% ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ. Okay, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ incident ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ ਵੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ boss ਤੇ ਛੇੜ ਦਿੱਤਾ or something like that. It's different, right? But ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ trust ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹੀ betray ਕਰਦੇ ਆ when it comes to at least this, in my personal experience.
I think ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਲਚਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਟੌਕਸਿਸਿਟੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਐਂਡ ਉਸਦਾ ਇਫੈਕਟ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਕੋਈ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਂਦਾ.
Yeah.
Why is our culture so toxic?
It's, I would say, lack of understanding when it comes to victims of abuse, especially when it comes to sexual and domestic. So ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੀ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਰਿਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ when a victim comes up to you for support. So for example, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਈ cases ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ kids reach out to us and say, oh, ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ mom dad ਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ questions ਪੁੱਛੇ and I got very upset ਵੀ ਮੈਂ share ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕਾਤੇ ਕੀਤਾ. Questions like I had a victim once tell me, yeah, so there was one question where it was ਤੂੰ ਉਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਦੋਂ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਡੀਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ 5 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਚੋਂ ਕਾਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਰਾਈਟ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਮੂੰਹ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਗੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਤੂੰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬਸ ਇਗਨੋਰ ਕਰਦੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਫੰਕਸ਼ਨ 'ਚ.
That's really bad. I think kids ਦਾ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਮਾਪਿਓ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ. And like parents, when they like shut their like communication gap, their door between, their kids, whom they're gonna come out to.
It's like they're hurt too. Like it's not the parents aren't hurt. ਵੀ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਵੀ ਆ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਪਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਚੋਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ knowledge ਨਹੀਂ ਗੀ like ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੀ honestly ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ cases ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ like understanding ਨਹੀਂ ਗੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਏਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਵੀ okay ਉੱਥੇ family function 'ਚ ਹੋਣਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਸ ignore ਕਰਦੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਬੁਲਾ ਦੀ hug ਵੀ ਕਰਦੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ it's okay.
They don't have the concept of boundaries
ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਏਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ ਵਿਕਟਮ ਨੂੰ ਤਰਫ ਉਹ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਔਖਾ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਔਖਾ ਆ ਫੇਕ ਫਾਰਮੈਲਿਟੀਆਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਔਖੀਆਂ ਆ ਪਰ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਫਾਰਮੈਲਿਟੀਆਂ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਫॉर द सोसाइटी ਆਪਣੇ ਓਨ ਚਾਈਲਡ ਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਲਾਈਕ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਫਿਕਰ ਆ ਵੀ ਓਕੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਇਨਵੀਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਕਰਨਾ ਜਾਂ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਕੀ ਕਹੂਗੇ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰਾ ਤੇਰਾ ਮਾਮਾ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬ੍ਰਦਰ ਨਾਲ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਛੱਡ ਸਕਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਏਦਾਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ 15 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਲਾਈਕ ਏਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਏਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਨਸਰਸ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ ਮੌਮਸ ਤੋਂ ਏਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਨਸਰਸ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ ਨਿਆਣਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੋ ਦੈਨ ਵਾਟ ਇਜ਼ ਦ ਚਾਈਲਡ ਸਪੋਜ਼ ਟੂ ਡੂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਦੂਰ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਕੰਪਲੇਨ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਰਾਈਟ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਐਂਡ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਆ ਆਪਣਾ ਇਨਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਓ ਬਿਗੇਸਟ thing that you should never say healing ਅਲੱਗ different ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ ਜਣਾ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਾਰੇ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਸੁਣੋ ਲਿਸਨ ਕਰੋ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ ਨਾ ਪੁੱਛੋ ਵੀ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਥੱਪੜ ਕਾਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਾਰਿਆ ਜਾਂ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਕਾਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਨਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਾਰ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਉਦੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਈ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਪੈਂਦੀਆਂ ਆ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਨੰਬਰ ਲੈਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਪਰ ਛੋਟੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਆ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਇਹ ਟਰਾਮੈਟਿਕ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਰਾਈਟ ਸੋ honestly ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਵਿਕਟਮਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੈਕਸ਼ੂਅਲ ਐਂਡ ਡੋਮੈਸਟਿਕ ਅਬਿਊਜ਼ ਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਫੈਕਟਸ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਟਰਾਮਾਟਾਈਜ਼ like nightmares ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ like they're having anxiety or anything like you know or they're like ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਨੋਂ ਹਟ ਗਿਆ ਕਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਈਨਸ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਵਿਕਟਮਸ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਗਨੋਰ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ because ਸਾਡੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਜਾਂ older generation ਨੂੰ ਖੁਦ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਉਹ ਸਾਇੰਸ ਕੀ ਆ right so ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ like you know ਆਪਣੇ community ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ especially show ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਵੀ okay if your child is under the age of 18 and ਉਹ ਹੁਣ ਕੁਆਇਟ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਰੂਮ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਬਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੀ ਜਾਂ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਫੰਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਜਾਂ ਆ ਕਰਦੀ like you know actually sit down with the child and have a conversation maybe it isn't sexual abuse maybe it isn't right it can be something else something different but ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ conversation ਜਿਹੜੇ parents ਨੂੰ ਲੈਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ they don't do that they're so busy with work and ਤੂੰ ਸਕੂਲ ਜਾ ਘਰੇ ਆ ਸਕੂਲ ਜਾ ਘਰੇ ਆ like
I think you should be friends with like parents especially needs to be friends with their kids
yeah
ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਫਰਸਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਪੀਰੀਅਡਸ ਆਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਮੰਮਾ ਨੇ ਲਾਈਕ ਫਿਜ਼ੀਕਲੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਲੈਬ ਤੇ ਬਿਠਾਇਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਾਇਆ ਕਿ ਗੁੱਡ ਟੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਬੈਡ ਟੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ
yeah
and I think I was 10 or 11 years old and 10-11 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਗੁੱਡ ਟੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਬੈਡ ਟੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ
right now the cases that I get ਤੂੰ ਕੱਪੜੇ ਕਾਤੇ ਪਾਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਆਪਣੇ ਮਾਮੇ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਕੱਪੜੇ ਇਹ ਕਾਤੇ ਪਾਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਜ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੱਪੜੇ ਪਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਤੂੰ ਹੱਸਦੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਕਾਤੇ ਸੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ with your own cousin and relatives and all of that ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ more questions judgment and ਵੀ ਇਹ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਾਤੇ instead of being like ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ like you know like she's trying to explain to you good touch bad touch like your mom is right like ਬਹਿ ਕੇ the conversations ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਆ like in my experience with whatever gets sent to me hopefully it's changing and I see the change ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ messages ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ like oh ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ like it's a very open topic and I'm very glad ਵੀ ਇਹ topic ਬਹੁਤ like you know ਅਸੀਂ ਹੌਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ but there's some families TV ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ kissing scene ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ ਉਹ TV ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ they won't even have a conversation with their children or anything so the ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਨਾ shelter ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਆ they're more prone to be victims of sexual and domestic or any type of abuse to be honest because they're so naive
that's a very good point that you just said ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਉਹ ਹੋਰ ਕਰਨਗੇ I remember I was having this conversation with my husband and I was saying, you know, we should like keep this when we're gonna have kids, we're gonna keep them away from this, we're gonna keep and he's like relax he said that कि Punjabi culture ਚ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ if you don't do it ਉਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰਨਗੇ he was like why can't we like okay this is the environment you're gonna go through this is what's gonna happen And if this happens to you, or if you're doing something like this, let me know and we can guide you how are the proper ways to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm like, wow, that's the really good concept. Like, we're not like, I wasn't aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then my husband's like you have to do this because you cannot treat your children like children at the end of the day.
Yeah, like there's like yes, there's children or whatever, but then when you grow up and stuff, like you have to talk about reality. Like, you can't just keep them in a bubble. Bubble ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ worse ਹੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈ. It's life. Like there's female, there's male, there's just communicate with them and this is how it should be. And honestly, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੱਲਾ prevent ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, like as in like teaching them, but ਜਦੋਂ incident ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, because it's life, incidents the life ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਣੇ ਹੀ ਆ, right? Making sure that if an incident does even happen, the whole like you've taught them everything, you've explained bad touch, good touch, but something still does happen to them. You, as a parent, have the obligation to listen to them, still be there for them, and hope that they actually are comfortable enough to come to you. ਵੀ 5-10 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਚੋਂ ਨਾ ਆਵੇ, like ਉਦੋਂ ਹੀ ਆਵੇ, like right away. ਇੰਨਾ comfort ਰੱਖ ਲਓ ਆਪਣੇ environment, ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਵੀ ਉਹ ਖੁਦ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ incident ਹੋਵੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ, ਉਸੇ ਦਿਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ comfortable feel ਹੋਵੇ ਆਉਣ ਲਈ. And that's the actual goal. Because yes, victims ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ the shame, the guilt, the embarrassment, even though galti ਤਾਂ ਉਹ perpetrator ਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ shame ਨਾਲ guilt ਉਹ usually victim feel ਕਰਦਾ ਆ, right? So we have to understand and be patient. ਕਹਿ ਦੋ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆ parent ਵਾਂਗ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਸਮਝਾਇਆ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ child ਨੂੰ, right? ਨਾਲੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ hurt ਨਾ ਹੋ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ 20 ਜਾਂ 1 ਮਹੀਨਾ ਜਾਂ 20 ਦਿਨ ਲੱਗ ਗਏ, 1 ਮਹੀਨਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ, 1 ਸਾਲ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਆਉਣ ਲਈ. As long as they came to you, we have to be understanding, because these topics of when it comes to sexual abuse, especially, it's a very sensitive topic. You can't push someone, you can't trigger it. If they want to talk about it, they will. If they don't, you make sure that you as a parent or a friend, they know that they can come to you at any time. Like, option ਹੋਵੇ, ਏਦਾਂ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਵੀ ਕੱਲੇ feel ਕਰਦੇ ਆ. Always check up. ਮੈਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਆ other podcasts too, that ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ community ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਸੱਟ ਵੱਜਦੀ ਆ, ਜਾਂ like ਲੱਤ ਟੁੱਟ ਗਈ or something, ਕੋਈ accident ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਉਦੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਘਰ ਆ ਕੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਚਾਹ ਪੀਣੀ ਆ. Like, come over, go check the person out. ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਠੀਕ ਆ? ਜਦੋਂ depression, mental health, anxiety, ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਜਣਾ silent room 'ਚ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਆ, ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ, ਉਦੋਂ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ.
ਉਹ ਚੱਲ ਛੱਡ, 2 ਪੈਗ ਲਾ ਸਭ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗਾ.
Yeah, like that, especially for men. ਜਦੋਂ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਮੋਸ਼ਨਸ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂਗੇ. ਇਮੋਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਕੋਈ ਜਣਾ ਵੀ, ਲੈ ਜਨਾਨੀ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਬੋਲੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ. why are you ਤੂੰ ਕੁੜੀ ਆ, like why do you care? ਆ ਪੈਗ ਪੁਗਲਾ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ. So then this is when it turns into a circle. That's why we have more alcohol abuse in our community. Drug abuse is happening, all of that, because men are more silenced. If you're going to talk about your emotions, because it's not only females that go through this, men go through this as well. We have a lot of cases where we get men reaching out saying, hey, I've been sexually assaulted, I've been like this, but I'm not coming forward. Half the cases, more than half, I think 5% of cases I show on my platform. Everything else on my platform is private. ਅਸੀਂ separate like deal ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, because they don't want to come forward because of the embarrassment, and like they feel like they can't come forward, we're going to be judged from the community. So the judgment is the more like what the society thinks is more of an issue currently, I'm feeling, and that's what we have to change as a whole.
ਇਹ ਵੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਸੀਗਾ. ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ 2 ਗੱਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਪੁਆਇੰਟਸ ਚੱਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਬੈਕ ਆਫ ਦਾ ਹੈਡ ਸੀਗੇ ਪੁੱਛਣੇ. ਪਹਿਲਾ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਜ਼ਤ ਵਰਡ ਬਹੁਤ ਯੂਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦਾ.
Yes.
ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੀ, ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ.
Oh yeah.
ਨਹੀਂ ਜੀ, ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਇੱਜ਼ਤ ਹੈ. ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਹੋਰ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਏ, ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਹੋਰ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਏ, ਨਹੀਂ ਜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਨੂੰਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਇੱਜ਼ਤ ਹੈ.
Yeah.
Like, why is like so much pressure of izzat on women? Like, what's that word? What importance that word holds?
might sound a little weird, but yeah, I don't know when and why our community puts is it on a vagina? Like literally.
Mm,
That's weird. They put it on like, hey, ਕਿ ਕੁਛ ਗਲਤ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹ ਤੇਰੀ ਇੱਜ਼ਤ ਰੁਲ ਗਈ ਹੁਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਕਦੀ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੋਣਾ. One of the main things that victims of abuse from our community face is ਮੇਰੀ mom dad ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਊਗਾ if ਮੈਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਏਦਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਜਣਾ like you know ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਜਣਾ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੋਂ ਹਟ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੋਕ ਅਲੱਗ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇਖੂਗੇ cause ਮੇਰਾ rape ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ. So like it's again victim blaming.
why is it like too much on body object?
It's sad. It's really really sad, and that's what we're trying to change in our society, in our community. It's in other communities too, but like I want to focus on our community and make it better where it's like, hey, stop using words like this, stop saying things like this, like you know be izadrologia or like you know making at least for the next generation, this should not be a problem. In our generation, okay, ho gaya, assi suffer kari jande hain, and we're still fighting it. But for the next generation and the kids coming forward, equality is such a big
Right.
thing. Equality altogether is a big thing. Understanding and being a realist also. Men have their qualities, women have theirs. There's differences. Edani hun main kendi, okay, I'm a feminist, I can do everything. No, there's certain things I can't do that men can do. I have the same movement because I have men in my team as well that can do certain things for me that I would not be able to do. So just like understanding what you're capable of and what a man is capable of and respecting both sides, right? And not like, you know, not making it a fight of gender, like, you know, not making it a fight. And it's more of like, hey, let's just work together. These are things that you can do and I'm so happy you can. And guess what? I can offer this. So working together is way better instead of just targeting each other and going off on like, oh no, you're a woman, you can't do this, or da 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 da. It's like, yes, I understand I can't do this, but you don't need to throw it at my face. Let's get an understanding and, you know, be respectful of each other. Just because you're a man doesn't make you more superior than me, right? Like these are topics or like things that I discuss so much with parents, especially because when I sit down and because I do go meet victims, I do go to families and get them to understand the victim side and everything. And some of the things that I hear is like, ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੁੜੀ ਆ ਇਹਨੂੰ like you know ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਕਾਤੇ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ like ਇਹਦਾ ਘਰ ਬਸਾਵੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਾ ਲਵੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹੀ ਟੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਬਸ ਸਾਡੀ ਖਤਮ ਹੋਵੇ. Like, you know, things like that is the stuff I'm hearing when I go meet families. Instead of like, hey, ਮੇਰੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਏਦਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਦੀ healing ਨਾਲ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ help ਕਰੀਏ ਇਹਦੀ education ਵਧਾਈਏ or like all of that. But no, worry ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਆ ਇਹਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਹੁਣ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ. Like, you know, ਫੇਰ ਸਾਡਾ ਟੱਬਰ. These are the things that I hear. And this is what I'm trying to change. Like, hey, the wedding isn't everything.
That's exactly, yeah, like I think ਇਹ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ. I remember ਜਦੋਂ ਮੇਰਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ and you know one of my relatives called me and said that ਚਲੋ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਮਾਂ ਪਿਓ ਦੀ ਟੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਮੁੱਕ ਗਈ. I'm like ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੇ ਕਦੀ ਵੀ ਰਿਅਲਾਈਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਮੈਂ ਟੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ. Like I'm an independent woman, like I'm working, like you know I'm contributing to my payments, the work that I do and everything, and ਮੇਰੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਦੀ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਅਲਾਈਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਬਰਡਨ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ. Like how come like relatives come to me and say that okay ਚਲੋ ਉਹਦੀ ਮਾਂ ਪਿਓ ਦੀ ਟੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਮੁੱਕ ਗਈ. I'm like that's so weird. Like ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਵੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ.
Yeah, it's the older generation that makes those comments, and then we listen and we just are like, we just roll our eyes and are like, what's going on? But honestly, I don't even want to argue with you because you're just too old for me now. Like, I can't do this, right?
Yeah.
But it's sad to hear that, like, grandparents make those comments, everyone's making those comments to like, you know, their nieces, nephews, certain things that are just not supposed to be said to children. And I really hope that parents realize it where they are more like, you know, equal with the kids and like making sure like, hey, none of this like cultural stuff in that sense and all the backlash of like hey, tu kuriyan, tu aani pauna, is just kind of taken out, and just give the same amount of freedom you give to a son to a daughter, right? And just it should be equality. Obviously teach, okay? Like teach your children. Like for you, yeah, a little bit things are going to be different. You have to be more cautious. As a woman, you have to be more aware. Yes, that sucks, but that's the reality right now. So yeah, as a parent, you have to teach some things to your daughter that you won't have to say to your son, right? But also the way of doing it and the way of saying it makes a huge difference. Saying things like, oh, tu kuriyan taan karke, tu ja nahi sakdi, aa nahi kar sakdi, is a way different than saying, hey, I wish you don't go, but if you are gonna go to this event or anything that's happening at, let's just say at 11 p.m., right? There's clubs or whatever. Can you make sure that you are doing this, and please do this? As in, like, make sure you're calling me, make sure you're aware, make sure your phone is on, make sure that you know that you can call me at any time. Like, all those kind of things. Because when you're in that teenager phase, is when you're the most
Vulnerable, yeah.
vulnerable. So the understanding has to be there. When parents say things like "Tu nahi ja sakdi," but your son can go, the girls will go. They'll just go secretly. They just won't tell you anything from now on, and that's the last thing you want to do.
Well, I think the way that I think is it should be like this. A woman should be a better version of herself so that the son sees, okay, this is the standard my mom has, and this is what, it raises the standard for the son. And the same thing goes for the father. Like, father should have a great standard for himself, raise the standard so that the girl knows, okay, whatever the guy that comes next in my life has to match my dad's standard or above him.
Yes, exactly. And when it comes to like, not, we were talking about sexual abuse, right? Now I'll talk about domestic abuse. So fathers that hit their wives and children and everything, right? When the kids grow up, they think that's normal. So when they get into relationships, they also get into, like, most likely they get into abusive relationships because it's a norm for them, and it just becomes a circle. So like, if your mother is going through abuse, like domestic abuse, for example, and the child is seeing it happen for like the long period of time, the whole childhood, right? It has an effect on them. 100% it does. And then either they'll go into alcohol, drugs, or whatever, or they're going to be in an abusive relationship themselves, or they're going to be an abuser themselves. So they're going to abuse the next person. So, like, the household environment itself has to be safe and secure for the children. As a mother, I understand, like, hey, the difficulty, like the cases we receive, like the Mandeep Kaur case was one of the biggest ones in the New
Yeah.
York, right? When we were dealing with that case, the questions that were arising, she committed suicide, she left the children. Like, we're all thinking about the children, but also like what she was going through. If she was given the support that she needed at that time, this would have never happened. Like, it's not even like the support from maybe the parents, even like the community, people knowing and just staying silent about it. How the law took that case where it's like, hey, where was the wellness checks? Like, if you know this domestic abuse situation is happening, why weren't there checkups happening, right? Like, little things. Even though it's her decision at the end of the day of leaving that toxic relationship or abusive relationship, and she didn't have the strength to do it, but at points in time she did. She showed it by going to the police. She showed it by making certain moves, right? But then she was so disappointed with the results that she chose to like kill herself. And now the effects that's going to have on her children in the future and everything. Then how are we helping the next generation? We have to have these topics, right? And honestly, like, our justice system sucks
It
in
does.
all ways and forms. So yeah, an organization like the core movement is needed, because when we get people reaching out to us, it's after they've already reached out to the cops and nothing has been done on their end, especially when it comes to blackmailing. If it comes to like oh, someone's blackmailing me with my pictures. This person's doing this to me. This person's being verbally abusive to me, but they're threatening me. But the cops, I've told them they are not doing anything. That's when we get involved and we're like, okay, give us the contact of that person. We will reach out to the person and let's see what problem they have. So involving yourself and helping someone that is coming to you is necessary. Sometimes it's necessary for us to go knock on a door. Because you know what? The cops aren't doing anything. The last thing I want is another person dead because they feel so suicidal or so traumatized that, hey, like, this person's blackmailing me. They're gonna put my pictures up everywhere. My IZZAT is gonna be gone. And now what can I do? So they start thinking like that. I get messages on DMs to emails all the time. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna kill myself. It's too much for me. Nobody's helping me. Nobody's doing anything for me. Like, those are, and it's sad to see. Yes, we have victim services in Canada, for example. But the process even of going there, you have to go to the police first to even get to victim services, right? Or like, you can get in touch. There's a lot of other services that are provided. But when you're a victim at that time and you're going through things, you're not thinking about counseling. You're not thinking about getting that type of help. You're thinking about, how do I solve this situation? And there are cases where women have thought that solving the situation is actually meeting up with the abuser and doing what they're telling them to do.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so there was a case that I had one time, actually a few cases, where women feel like if they're getting blackmailed and the guy is telling them, no, you have to meet me here, you have to meet me now, because they are so scared that the other person will do something else, they actually go meet the abuser. Yeah, so this is what happens. Like, when you're in that circle and like you're so not mentally like there, and you're very upset with what's going on, and you don't know how to deal with the situation, and especially when you don't want your parents or family or loved ones finding out, then you actually start listening to the abuser and what they're asking for. And we have cases like that where girls have had sex with people they did not want to have sex with. We have cases where girls will do things for certain people, certain, like, abuser, if they feel threatened or like their safety is at risk. Because sometimes abusers, what they do is they'll be like, hey, we're gonna harm your family, I'm gonna come to your house, I'm gonna start honking outside your house if you don't come out. So these are the type of cases we get. And the cops, I don't blame the cops in this sense, because they say that, oh, okay, we need something to happen for us to take action. So it's like, for me, I don't want something to happen. So I want to solve that problem beforehand. So when I say solve that problem, it's if someone is reaching out to me and like asking me for support, I'm going to do what they kind of want, like the support they need, as in a voice, because they're not a voice for themselves right now. So I have to be a voice for them, meaning getting myself personally involved in the case and taking action, as in either contacting the abuser myself or contacting family or seeing what we can do. And if she is wanting to go, we can't stop her from going. But what we can do is offer and say, you go, but we'll be behind you. Right? And we'll be there in the background for you. Like, at least the cases in Surrey, Vancouver, like Lower Mainland, yes, there are situations where I have had to follow and be there and let the person do whatever they do, but make sure she's also safe. Because at the end of the day, I don't get that
Right.
choice of what I can't tell them what to do, but at least I can be there for safety reasons or some sort of something. And that gives them a little bit of strength as well. And usually, luckily, I'm able to communicate in that level and give them the motivation and strength to be, and the courage to be like, hey, you don't even have to do this. This isn't even something you need to do. We can solve this matter in a different way. And if you don't want to involve the cops, you don't have to. Because a lot of victims don't want to involve cops. Because cops mean someone coming and knocking on your door sometimes. Cops means sometimes, like, having a 3-hour interview in a room, question after question. And the result is not honestly going to go anywhere. So they don't feel safe going there anyways. So now people have a spot that they come to, the core movement, where we kind of involve ourselves. If they don't feel comfortable involving their loved ones, their cousins, their families, then we get involved. And that's how we kind of have been dealing with all these cases recently. And it's a sad reality, because our goal is to get them to go to the justice system. Our goal is to get them to get support the right way and the proper way. But right now, currently, our justice system is failing these victims. So I don't blame them for coming to organizations like us and asking for support.
Does it take a mental toll on your health? Like you're getting like a lot of like these cases,
Yeah.
and they're not like small. They're like
Yeah.
big cases. They're like, like hard hitting cases. Does like how do you handle your mental health?
Honestly, I'm just going case by case. It's come to that point now. I'm so numb to it, even though this is not a good thing to say, but I am numb to this stuff. My thing is, I just want to solve the situation and get the person into the healing
Process.
phase of their journey and to just move forward. And I think I have a problem a little bit where I take every case that comes to me very personally, and I put myself in their shoes, and then I go accordingly like that, which, yes, it does take a mental toll, where I'm usually like, oh, like there's just case after case, it's never ending. But when I kneel down in front of God, God stood up for me. When God stood up for me, I realized nobody can stand against me. Every morning I wake up, I still have that same energy to, hey, I'm going to keep going. Yes, there's moments I'm crying because I'm like, holy, like what's going on in our community? Or why are these cases still happening? It's 2020, like, like it's 2020.
For
What are we in, 2024? Yeah, we're in 2024. And so like it's just, but I feel like it's needed. And I feel like if I set an example of me being like this, more people in our community will become like me, and they will do this as well and follow. And I want people to follow what I'm doing, because if we're not protecting our own, then what's the point? Like our own community, what we need to focus on it, heal it, and work as one, and not be so separated from each other. And like, the healing needs to start. Like honestly, the healing needs to start, and it's only gonna start if we show support to strangers in our community. Like, not like I know these people, like people that reach out to me via email or anything. Some of them are in Germany, India, UK, Australia, but if they're reaching out to me, they're probably at their lowest. And I know that feeling of being at my lowest. So I'm gonna be there to support. I want to be there to support. And honestly, I want others in our community to do the same. So if someone is coming to you for support, like stand up for them. Like, this is as sick as a Sikh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So follow what we actually preach, right? Slowly getting there, but like I'm trying to follow what we preach.
I want to know your connection with God. I know when you said that, when you had courage to go to Gurudwara and ask for help, and you said that something in you changed.
Yeah.
What was that feeling? What was that strength at that moment that you got? I was like, okay, I need to do this. I need to like reach out to people and help them out.
Funny thing is, I didn't even reach out to people. People started reaching out to me. But that day, I talk about it. I don't understand what happened to me that day, because I see it as the educational side of like, hey, maybe I was not mentally well, and I was having a breakdown, and I should have been in a psych ward, because like it was like a spiritual thing that happened with me, which I don't understand still, and I'm trying to understand. So when I say like that quote, for example, and when I say that I went to the Gurdwara that day, and in February, so February is gonna be 6 years of the core movement now.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
on the 19th.
There
Yeah,
we go.
so it's coming up. Yeah, there you go. And so on the 19th of 2019. I had that mental breakdown of mine where I said I was very suicidal and I was about to kill myself. Um, and at that time, there was no page of any sort. it was me testing God, you would say. I don't know how to explain it, but I questioned why my life has been the way it has when it came to sexual abuse. And I'm like, just give me a sign of some sort that I need to be in this world because I don't feel like I deserve to be in this world. And like I keep going through things that I don't know why I'm going through. Maybe I deserved it. I don't know. At that time my mental state was really, really bad. And I had my dog with me, which is Gigi, and I'm like crying with her and like just having this mental breakdown. And that at that time in my life, my dog was everything for me. That was the closest. And I'm going to explain this. So, this is what happened, and I still don't understand it, but this is what happened. I had my dog, and I'm crying, I'm crying, I'm crying. I'm like, give me a sign. I want to start something so big that the world gets to know that this stuff happens and how we need to protect others. Like, the mindset of mine was like really weird. I was talking to God. I was seeing faces. I was seeing a lady on a horse roaming around me, and I connect that with my pago now, to be
Oh,
honest.
wow.
But at that time,
Maybe there was a God giving you signs.
yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, maybe I don't know what it was. And then I was hearing drums. I was hearing weird things, and I was like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Hey, did I talk to God?" Like I felt like I had a conversation where he wasn't talking or she, I don't know what it was. But it was just me saying, "Give me a sign." And I actually tested it. I was like, my dog is the most precious thing. And at that time I think the page had already kind of started. It was Hush Hush. And I was changing it to the core movement at that time, and that's the day when I changed it to the core movement. Because core kept coming up in my mind for some reason, or like, I was seeing Kara, like I was seeing my dog, my like Babaji's face. Like it was just such a weird day that day. And then my dog was there with me, and I'm like, give me a sign. If I make this movement, and those are words I'm saying, and the page wasn't even called the core movement. I want to make this movement so big that it helps everyone because I didn't get the help I needed. And these are the words I was saying. I'm like testing it. I'm like, you can take the most precious thing away from me, but give me this movement. And these are the words that are coming in my mind. And the most precious thing to me at that moment is my dog, right? So I still have pictures, but my dog actually like went dead in front of me, and literally like on the ground, and had puke coming on the side, like spit or whatever it
Oh,
was.
wow.
And there's still a mark on that carpet. And you know what my reaction to that was at that time? And again, mental breakdown. I was like, thank you, God, for giving me the sign. You've taken my dog. I'll make this movement so
The
big.
same day? It was the same day?
It was the same day. I'm saying this to myself. And it was 30 seconds, but it felt like an hour to me. And my dog got up. I said that out loud, and my dog got up, and it was perfectly fine. And then I was like, what just happened? Like, God just took my dog away, and now God just gave me my dog back? Like, what? And this is me. I never I didn't like, yes, I believe in God. Now I do, 100% I do. But at that time, I was testing it. I was all over the place, right? And yeah, so that was a really weird experience for me. And now even talking about it gives me jitters because I didn't understand the feeling I was getting. And I don't understand why my dog just went dead and was back alive 30 seconds later.
Wow.
And now I'm like, was it a dream that day? What was that day for me, right? And I don't understand it, to be honest. And I'm trying to. I talk to people that are more spiritual to get an understanding of what happened to me that day, why I was a certain way, why I was acting like that, why I was seeing certain faces. Or maybe I just thought I was so burnt out and like my experience was so horrible that it all bottled up in me that I just exploded. But that day is when I went to the Gurdwara. And right when I went in, the strength, I just wanted to go matha tek because I was so out of it. Like I just wanted to go matha tek, and I was like, I was just about to kill myself. Now I feel like I need to go to the gurdwara. So I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna matha tek and everything's fine. Clearly something's wrong with me and I'm gonna go get checked up by a doctor. Is what I said to myself. And then I went and matha teked, and I went from such a weak-minded person, vulnerable, like, just all over the place, so confused, to coming out, and all of a sudden, I'm happy. I am like, just a split second, everything just changed. I have energy, and I'm like, okay, what happened to me was horrible. It's not my fault, and da 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 da. Within that like 1 hour, everything just changed for me. And then I did go to the doctor and I got checked up, and they're like, oh, you're probably just having anxiety and you probably just need to sleep, and if you want you can take medication, but with your reports and everything's going on, you're normal, you're fine. It's just your experience. Get some counseling and this and this and that. And then I was like, okay. And then the next day I changed it to the core movement, and then my page just blew up. And then after that, every person was reaching out for support. And then I just case by case kept going, eventually turned it into an organization. Now it's a society in BC, with thousands and thousands of volunteers all over the world. And yeah, that was my experience.
Wow.
Which people don't understand and probably think I'm like not mentally well, but yeah, I can't lie, that is what happened with me that day, and I'm trying to understand it still, and hopefully one day I understand, or maybe it was just a bad dream that went good. And
I think God, if I truly believe this, and I literally believe this, God put special people in special time for their talents to come out.
yeah, I think that sometimes too. I'm like, maybe this was just my path and what I was supposed to do. Like, even like I recently went to India, and just me even needing to go to India, like, why do I need to? I have a life here. Like, I have my full-time job. I like, why do I need to? It's just that kitsch that, like, like, hey, there's people there waiting to talk to me,
Mm.
or wanting to see me because they're going through a state that's really bad. In the UK, like, there was a few cases that I felt like I just had to be there and just go hug that person,
Mm.
because it's just something I just need to do. And my family sometimes, the husband sometimes, he's like, "Ugh, I don't know what is going on with you, like what it is." I'm like, I can't control it. Like, it's just something. This is my path, and this is what I just need to do. And this is my second life. So for me, this is it. I was someone else before, now I'm someone else now.
About men's mental health, I want to go a little bit deeper in this because usually ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ mostly ਸਾਨੂੰ women ਦੀਆਂ problems ਅੱਗੇ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ, right? What women go
Mhm.
through, but what do men go through that they have to reach out to, like sing movement?
Mhm.
Yeah, we talked about ki pressure zyada hunda hai. They've seen environments, abusive environments in their family, but what else men go through that we as women we don't see?
Okay. So I would say, for men, it's really hard to talk about emotions in our community, right? Like I've mentioned before, like for them to talk, even cry, is like they get kind of made fun of in our community. At least I've noticed that a little bit. It is changing. There are topics that are coming up now, but also realize suicide rates are higher for men than women. So men commit more suicide, yeah, at a younger age or something as well, uh, because they go through a lot where they're keeping it all bottled in, and not like, they're the provider in our community, right? So they're the ones that have to take care of everything. They're the protector in our community because that's just how they're known. Like, that's just the label they have been given. So for them to talk about their emotions is not common. So when we get cases for the core movement, we get sexual abuse cases. So usually a man doing it to another man, a younger child. That has happened to kids that are boys that have gone through sexual abuse as children. And them talking about it is 20 times harder, I feel like, for them. And if you even noticed on my page, like I write the same movement when a victim is a male and sharing their story. But like notice that so many women come forward. Yes, women go through it more obviously when it comes to sexual abuse, domestic abuse, because they're more prone to that. But when it comes to men, they are like, hey, the first thing they'll probably usually say to me is, don't ever tell this to anybody. I'm a banda. Like, you know, like I can't have my wife finding out. I can't have anybody finding out. But my issue I'm having right now is that I'm drinking too much because of this issue. So the wife and the kids might not even know that the alcohol abuse is actually because of abuse that they have gone through as a child. So yeah, there's cases like that that we receive. So sometimes understanding why the person is drinking alcohol or getting into drugs as a male is more should be more of in focus than saying, oh ta pinda ya bande hunde idda ya ja jatt hunde idda ya, every song about like just stop. Men drinking is just a common thing. It's like, no, if they're drinking by themselves just to even go to sleep, take that as a red flag. There's something going on. Have conversations. Like males have more, like they have to provide financially. At least in our community with older generations, that is a thing. So the stress levels they have, their coping mechanisms is, in our community at least, is liquor, is what I'm seeing with the cases we deal with. So understanding and becoming more like, hey, like the wife and like the kids should be having conversations with the dad too,
Right.
and being, or like the brother too, and being like, hey, like this is what's going on in your mind, like what's like talk. And it's a big long journey to go through because we're just starting these conversations, but eventually I feel like it will make a difference. Men often don't share their emotions, which is
It is.
understandable, like I get it, but making sure that they do have a space available is also necessary, because you will be surprised about how many men reach out to us. Like I get women, yes, there's a higher, probably like a 70% women, but I would say 30% men reach out to us too.
Wow.
For support, like counseling and mental health support. And yes, we just help privately. Like we don't show it on the platform. But I'm glad that they're reaching out, because this is a start. Like the cycle will end for the next generation.
What are the safe environments that we can have so that like we don't see another abuse, or ताकि कट भी हो जाए?
Got to be ho jaye is by talking about it. Honestly, having conversations openly about it, shaming the perpetrator all the time and never questioning a victim. Like, questioning is for authorities and police and all of that. You as a friend, as a person that's supporting, should not be questioning anything, right? When it comes to abuse, or when you see people bullying another person, for example, you can see it but you're silent about it. The silence is the worst. So talk, say your mind, speak your mind, be clear about it. Where's the compassion in our community? Let's wake that up a little bit. Where is the understanding in our community? We need to wake that up a little bit. Where we actually go back to how it was, and we used to help everyone. But let's start helping our community first. And if we see someone struggling, actually stand up for them. And when you make that example, then others will follow. I'm trying to make that example. I started this movement with scratch and nothing, right? On my own, I've got this far because every day I am going to help at least 5 people. That is my goal. 5 people I talk to and I need to make a change in. So if others start doing that, it's a seva. This is a seva, and this is a true, real seva. Seva is just not going to a gurdwara and bartaying langar or helping at a gurdwara. That is good seva as well, of course. But there's other things you can do, and as a human, and you will feel good about it yourself. You teach yourself, and you're helping others around you because you're fortunate enough to be well, happy, and good in life. So why not help others feel like that too? You're privileged to have that. I'm privileged now, I feel like, to have this. So it should be my obligation to help. And if someone is coming and help, like, just supporting, volunteering for organizations like mine, going to other places and helping out, working with seniors, for example, they're vulnerable, talking to them. It's just that stop isolating and being in your own little bubble, in your own little world, and wake up to the people around you that are also suffering and connect with them. And honestly, like, I feel like the human connection has kind of just went like this right now. We're like all over the place, and I want it to go like this again. So we as a community are good and strong for the future generation, especially our kids and stuff, right? So talking about it is the most thing I can say. Chugliyan chugliyan ਘੱਟ ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰੋ ਜਦੋਂ ਬਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ. And more like, good conversations where like, hey, let's make a difference. Because as Punjabis, we have that.
We like to gossip.
Yeah, we love to gossip.
I went.
Hey, I like to gossip too. I think everyone does. But limit hundi a cheezan di. Like, there's other things that you can use in your life and do in your life that will give more benefit than just
benefit to others.
Yeah, others. And think about others. You can't only be thinking about yourself. Yes, yeah, we can be selfish, but we have to be selfless too.